Welcome to another episode of Listen, Learn, and Love, hosted by Richard Osler. My guest on today's podcast is my friend Gaven Guthrie. Welcome, Gaven.
It's great to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity, Papa. It's awesome to really share my story.
So, just to introduce Gavin is a longtime friend. He's been friends of my sons at Cottonwood High School here in Salt Lake. Gavin graduated in the class of 2015. We called him Squatch. And maybe you'll tell our listeners someday why on the podcast why you're Squatch.
Squatch. I haven't heard that one in a while.
And you drove a Jeep in high school, and I noticed you drove up in a Jeep. Yep. I don't know if it's the same one, Gavin, or a different one.
I'm not selling it anytime soon.
Gavin, I've known him as part of the Cottonwood baseball team. Over the years, Cottonwood's had a great team, and you were part of that great team, and just a great athlete, and a great student, and a good friend. And Gavin is going to talk about a really difficult subject. He's going to talk about the passing of his dear mother, Kathy, who died by suicide in her late 50s. I think she was 57 or 58.
Yeah, 57.
57, and she died about a year ago. We're recording this podcast on the last day of January, and she died in early January of 2018. And I was not able to attend the funeral, but I eventually got a hold of your 10-minute talk. And that talk is one of the finest funeral talks. I just can't quite believe that a young man your age was giving that talk with that level of maturity. And so many of our listeners are dealing with difficult stuff and maybe contemplating suicide. And what you shared in that talk, and now as I've had a couple lunches with you, you are a lifter and a healer and creating vision for other people. So I'm so glad you're just willing to come on the podcast and share your story.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah.
Gavin and I started with prayer. Gavin is not a member of my faith, the LDS Church, but Gavin is a deep believer in God, not connected with any religion. And I've recognized very faithful, wonderful people in my faith and outside of my faith. So I don't really see you as somebody different than me or someone who needs to be rescued or brought to my faith. I just recognize that you found God in your own way and have a great relationship with God. And so I just am really at peace where you are with your own faith.
Yeah.
But just tell us about Cottonwood baseball. What position did you play?
So that's kind of initially where I think I kind of got my drive. When I really look back as I've matured over the years, I really look at Cottonwood and the baseball team as kind of like that stepping stone where I kind of found my niche and really being a competitive person. And really, it's something that's been instilled with me, even with my mom's passing and just being able to, fully take advantage of every opportunity, be competitive and try to be that starting player, just in life.
And Cottonwood's had a great reputation. I can't remember, what was the best year you were there? Did you go to state, take state?
I think we took third my senior year, but I mean, if you're really talking about where the most fun was, it was in 2015.
What happened in 2015, Gavin?
So much. Just, I mean, every day I showed up to practice. Every day I showed up to a game. I really did leave my senior year. It's something that I instilled in Brody, my younger brother, and just really living that last year and fully going 100%. There isn't a practice or a game that I wasn't 100% present and really trying to strive just to be, the best baseball player I can be for myself. So,
do you have any regrets about your baseball experience at Cottonwood? Doesn't sound like
maybe
it.
I wish I would have gotten closer with Jason Crawford and Shelton on a personal level, but no, they're all good guys there. I had a great experience. So many things, again, that I learned, it just really correlated to life later on. So
what's your highlight game when you think back is there a highlight game or a highlight moment that just comes back with a smile on your face?
We had fall championships or like a World Series. We'd all dress up like one game out of the series. That was always a really great time with great memories. We always would do it at the end of October, so that would be when it was colder. And a lot of guys decide to wear short shorts and all these things. So the memories are mostly the fun ones. I mean, I had great games, great moments, but it was the moments with the teammates that I really feel like, molded my experience.
And then you went and played college baseball. Where did you play?
So I was at a junior college, Colorado Northwestern Community College. It's just out of Rangeley. Great experience, great people, different atmosphere, no doubt. A little more competitive, but again, I enjoyed my experience there as well.
It's good. And I think your college baseball ended with an injury, if I remember.
Yeah, I got tore my tibia, unfortunately, or not tore, but broke.
Uh-huh.
I ended up playing the next year, which was great, and had a great experience and great time. But just at that kind of level of play, it's kind of hard to keep an injury. That's not 100% ever going to be healed to really go at that level. So I enjoyed it. It was a great experience.
It's good. And I know you're in school in Utah pursuing a marketing degree. As I may have mentioned, you're 21, soon to be 22 in February of 2019. You've also got a modeling acting career you're doing. Tell our listeners a little bit about that. That's different than playing high school basketball, Gavin.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it gets me. So many of the things that I'm doing, especially recently, I'm just trying to get out of my comfort zone. I'm trying to continue to progress and explore. And, a lot of people in my age group of 21, 22, it's such an odd age where it's like, am I supposed to be married? Am I supposed to be single? All these kind of things of where am I supposed to be? And I think everyone kind of has their own path. And with modeling and acting, it's really helped me get out of my comfort zone, network with people that I wouldn't usually see in like a school setting, from producers to big stream actors, and just kind of get a feel. You definitely watch TV a lot different. Just looking at the different films, you don't realize how many takes it takes to get the one, and just one scene. So, but yeah, it's a great experience. I'll continue to do it.
How long have you been doing that, and what's your favorite assignment so far?
I've been doing it for about a year now. I've been doing a few commercials, mostly just extra work. I've gotten a couple speaking lines.
Good.
It's all about kind of breaking that mold. And, people in the industry always talk about, getting that break or that one, series or whatever it may be that kind of puts you on a pedestal. So it's kind of a side hustle that I do that I really like, is kind of a, when it fits within my schedule and I can go to some of these gigs. It's great. It's always anything that gets me out of my comfort zone, I'm all about, because I get that gut feeling, and I know the discomfort that I have and the vulnerability that I create from that. Yeah, on the other side is going to be more success, more failures, but eventually successes. So
I like that. I like just being open to all these different doors at your age and exploring. It sounds like you've got obviously a work career and a school career, but you've got these other things you're pursuing.
Yeah.
And I think that's great to keep multiple doors open.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go back and reopen doors at 57, Gavin. I'm a product of the doors and the things I explored at your age and learned what I needed to do. So tell our listeners how many are in your family.
So with my mom included, it was my mom, dad, and then younger brother Brody. He's currently a senior right now at Cottonwood and enjoying every minute.
Keeping the torch going.
And keeping the torch going. There you go. Yeah.
And tell us about your mom. What was her profession?
So she was a data analyst at the Capitol. So she worked, I think, about 25 years as a data analysis for the. I worked up at the Capitol with the government processing and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And we could play her. I've thought of actually playing your funeral talk in the podcast. Mm-hmm. I think we'll just talk about it.
Yeah.
She passed away in early January of 2018. I mentioned she died by suicide, and I think it's okay to talk about that. My experience is when I hear someone dies by suicide, even though I may be curious why or how, what means, I try not to ask that question of anybody. And I'm not going to ask it of you because I don't think it helps the situation at all. Mm-hmm. But I think it's okay to talk about how she died. I don't think that diminishes her legacy, or I think it potentially can help us all understand how to do better, what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So maybe just take us to the funeral. Where was the funeral held?
So it was held in the town of Richfield, Utah. Mm-hmm. We have a vacation cabin in Cusham, Utah, a town of about 200 people. If you're listening to this and you know where Kusharm, Utah is, good for you.
How do you spell that city? I've never heard of it. I've heard a lot of places
Well, the
in
thing
Utah,
is,
Gavin.
I've been living there for a while, or excuse me, but vacationing, I guess, on the weekends there for a while. Some of the locals call it Kusharm. Some people call it Kusharm. So it was named after an Indian tribe leader.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a small town. Richfield's about 45 minutes away. I think that's exactly where she would have wanted to been buried. I know every weekend I go there with a new set of flowers, and I really take in just the moment, and I know she's at peace there. So
what's her connection to that area, or your family connection?
So my dad and my mom, very outdoorsy people. It's obviously correlated in my life, but they were doing the Paiute ATV Trail, which is a off-road kind of trail system within central Utah. And Kusharm was kind of in the smack dab of all that. So growing up, we were always riding, fishing, hunting, whatever kind of outdoor activity we could do on a nice bluebird day. We were right there. So yeah.
What a great tribute to her to have the funeral there, and it sounds like she's buried there.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And you go pretty frequently to put flowers on her. How often do you go?
Usually, I usually go every weekend, but I've been so busy with travel and school. It's just the means of, when it fits within my schedule.
That's okay.
But, whenever I can, I will.
I have to think that's okay with your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the funeral. Well, you're 21 and you're not planning on your own parents' funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the hopes of this podcast, if there's parents that are in a really dark spot, that are even thinking about suicide, that Gavin's thoughts about his own mother's suicide will help you as well as anybody. Yeah. So I assume you're not thinking of your own parent funeral, and suddenly you're there.
I've definitely stepped on a stage quite a few times with public speaking within school, some podcasts, acting, all these things. I've gotten out of my comfort zone, but I never felt any real feeling of pit in my stomach or vulnerability when I stepped on that stage, because I didn't truly care what anyone thought. I was just going to express exactly where my mind was at, and hopefully, and going along with my 2019 goal, it's just to create impact. I wanted to go on there and explain my situation, explain how my mind was, how I was feeling, and hopefully, impact at least one person in that room. And it was hard. I know my knees were shaking, and I was fighting back quite a few tears there until the end, just because I really wanted to convey a message. I wanted, for how negative of an experience it truly has been.
Right.
I try to find those positives where no matter what happens, I can create something out of it, even if it's not the ideal outcome by any means. I just try to present something that's positive from it, and I know I got a couple of people that talked to me and explained the importance of it. So,
did you know you were going to speak at your mom's funeral once she knew she passed away?
I volunteered. I was the first
one. Volunteered.
First one, yeah.
Why?
Honestly, I couldn't fathom the idea of sitting there and not doing that. Anyone that knows my mom literally knows that she was the most, and it's biased of me to say it because I'm her own kid, but there was no one as truly as selfless. As parents, you're continually creating a model for your kids, and it's not going to be about what you say. It's always going to be about what you do. And just to see the acts of selflessness through the 21 years I got to know my mom, I wanted to be as selfless as I could on that stage, so that, hopefully at 10% of her would have came out in that speech to where it would have impacted someone, or, brought value to someone, to rethink a lot of things if they are in those kind of dark places. So.
And as I listened to your talk twice today, the first part of your talk is paying tribute to your mom.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so well done. Just pay tribute to your mom again for our listeners.
Yeah.
Kathy Guthrie.
Yeah, she She was a caring soul. I know because I'm a pretty big, reader and someone that, finds the answers to a lot of problems through books or, even podcasts like this. But um, with that being said, in Richard Dawkins by The Selfish Gene, he talks about our DNA and how us as human beings, biologically, we're always going to be egocentric. It's why it's natural as humans to always care about ourselves, as opposed, I knew growing up, a lot of times teachers would, we're doing it to keep the species alive. That's why, and over time, a lot of these, psychologists and biologists have found out that it's not actually that way. It's actually you look at yourself first, people that are close within your proximity, so blood related, friends, close community. And I mean, everyone is written to that rule, but for some reason, my mom was not. She was continuing to be selfless. She would, there's two examples that I used within the talk of, her, getting a phone call from Brody saying a teammate didn't have a yellow jersey in the summer league. And, she's out in the storage units rummaging through boxes trying to find a jersey for this kid, that she doesn't even know. And,
It's cool that Brody knew his mom that she would solve that problem.
yeah.
And it sounds like you both know that about your mom.
Yeah. In other examples, she did a lot of charity work. She continued to, there's a homeless guy that was in the Walmart parking lot in American Fork. That's where we're residing at. And she would continue to spend that $2 to $5 to get a can of soup or a pillow, make a small conversation with the guy, and give it to him. And, those kind of examples, especially from a kid's eyes, it's incredible the impact that it's had on me. And it's only probably been amplified since she has passed, just because those are the kind of things that I continue to remember about her. So
I love those other examples of your mom. One of the things that I liked that you talked about, she just saw people.
yeah,
Share more on that.
yeah, that's such a crucial key. That is such a crucial key as a human being, because I kind of look at it too. I kind of, in my mind, it's crazy how it just continues to evolve as I get older. But a lot of the time, society or people will put certain people on pedestals, or they'll this person is this way, or there's titles or labels to people. This person's in this industry. He probably acts like this. Oh, I'm a model. I'm doing it because this and this, or it's just this constant label and judgment that we naturally do because we're trying to find out who we vibe with, who's in our kind of social group, who we care about, who we not, so it's natural. But if we can break through that and we can become aware and just look at people truly as an orb of being and a soul, you'll start to realize, and I've realized this through my 2018 year, was just the ability to get to know people. Every single person is going through life, and they could have identical situations, growing up in the same school, going to the same high school, doing this, and have completely different perspectives, because it's such a complex thing. It's their family life, it's their friend life, it's their sports life, it's what they're doing when they're watching Netflix that maybe alters or looks at their mind differently. It's just constant perspective and idea sharing of people that I feel like so many times we cross that off and look at judgment and labels, as opposed to really looking at people that are truly just people. And in my talk, I kind of talked on that as well, is just when you're at a funeral and you look at a picture of someone that's passed, I think everyone can relate that we look at it differently, and I related on how you're not looking at my mom's thick glasses. I have bad vision too, so
Cool.
like, yeah, it's coming. But or her hair or her smile or any of these assorted features, what you're really looking at is her inner being as a person, and who was Kathy Guthrie. And the biggest thing for me, is me being Gavin Guthrie, is who am I going to become? Who am I going to be remembered as what legacy am I going to create for myself? Because we truly never know as beings, when that last moment is, or when something is gonna entail that it shifts or it changes. So many people continue to go through life almost where there is subconscious, as when you put your keys in your car and you put it in reverse, you're not thinking about it. Some people go through life like that, like they aren't thinking, they aren't being present with themselves. They're not it's a simple, like the way I look, it's crazy how my mind has changed so much because of this situation. Because, I literally think all the time when I get negative or I have bad thoughts, I think everything can change just that quickly. It could be the simple, just understanding of, a moment that happens in time. I'm driving down I-15, I'm doing my thing. Everything is in my control that I can control. But then there's a mom in front of me who has two kids in the back seat. She's texting on the phone with her husband, and there's somewhere up ahead that has a truck, and something flies out the back of it. She swerves out of reaction, hits me, and pit maneuver. I'm rolling 3 times and I die. And
Wow.
people don't realize that. People don't look at life like that. They're constantly looking at this moment as that what they're in is not okay, and that at some point down the road it's going to be better, but they put no action behind that. And it's just crazy to me sometimes the lives that people live, and it makes sense why they're depressed. It makes sense why they're anxious, because they're not living it on their terms. They're not trying to fulfill their potential as a being.
Very helpful stuff. I love, you've made me think about funerals, Gavin, and how when I go to a funeral and I see someone who's passed away and I see their picture in the program, and I look at their picture perhaps in a viewing line, and you're right. I don't look at their physical attributes. I remember the kind of person they were.
Exactly.
And their heart and their kindness, and whether they were tall or skinny, or all these different ways that we potentially categorize us physically that really doesn't matter. And we need to see everybody as people.
Yeah.
I like that. And it sounds like your mom really did that. It's one of the great life lessons she's brought to your family. Talk about you. As I was listening to the funeral talk, you gave great tribute to your mom, and then you pivoted in this talk, and you talked to people that are in really dark places. And you wanted to help people that are in dark places. Share with us about that part of the funeral talk.
Yeah, so basically within the talk, I kind of go into, there's places that I've been emotionally, like Papa, like 2 weeks after it happened, brother, it didn't matter the mood consciously that I was in. Subconsciously, I was so heartbroken that I would start crying and had no control over it. Absolutely no control over it.
So honest.
And the thing is what I've truly realized, because I study a lot of the greats, a lot of the people that make impact, a lot of the people that, are trying to create something for themselves. And I realized in order for you to create a tree, you have to create a root. And in the ability of, depression and anxiety and some of these things that just truly overwhelm me in my moments of loneliness, where I can't believe this is my reality. I can't believe that this is the situation that I have to deal with. I'm trying to figure out my life. I don't know, what to believe. And I just look at the clouds and the sky a lot more in a gray form for quite a while. And, anxiety and depression really started to root. And, as I've gone through my 2018 year, I look at it and I think in order for me to have a tree that's tall, I have to have a root that's deep. And you see in any person that's created, things past, materialistic things like money, power, control. They're always trying to, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, all these greats that really put the impact of people in front of them. They've always done it because of the past that they have. One book that I'm reading right now, it's by David Goggins. It's You Can't Hurt Me. And he talks about, like continual moments of his childhood where his father would put tremendous abuse upon his mother, lash out of reaction. Another example of people not being present with their emotion and reacting out of anger. And, moments when she's on the ground and she can't move, and he's seeing this in the eyes of a 7-year-old, and the impact and the feeling that he got from that. I can't fathom, but it created him to become something. For those of you that don't know David Goggins, he was a Navy SEAL. He went through SEAL training 3 times, Hell Week 3 times. It's one of the hardest.
Wow.
One of the hardest things to do. He did it 3 times. The guy holds the world record for pull up 67,000
Wow.
pull-ups in a day. Oh my! I can't
I've
make
never
this
heard
up.
of that record.
Yeah. He runs a marathon every single day, 23.2 miles, and he just shows what's possible. But more importantly, to relate it really, what I'm saying, he's created that root that's so deep that his tree is almost just what his potential is and what he feels it to be, based upon what he believes his potential is. And for some reason, with him, it's a potential of 67,000 push-ups, and he makes it possible. And the people that are listening and seeing that, it is possible now. It's like the person that ran the fastest mile. He did it, at one point in time, and then next thing you know, there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other people that can do it. And and just in dealing with depression, anxiety, one thing that's truly helped me in, I guess, dealing with it, if I don't know if there's a better word to describe it, but it's just being aware. The people that are the most aware are usually the most intelligent. They're usually the ones that are the most understanding of what's going on around them. Whenever I would just get down, I would get so down, and I just think, as horrible as this feels, as foreign as this feels, it's okay for me to feel like this. It's okay for me to understand that I'm in a dark place right now, and I have every reason to be in that place right now. I don't know what's going on in my life. And with me, just instead of reacting and finding that, that emotion and just kind of rolling with it like a roller coaster, I take a minute and I get off the ride and I look at it. And I think, why am I feeling this way? Why are my emotions like this? There'll be days I'll wake up and I just can't, I'm just, it's too much. Like, for some reason, and the first, I've put habits into my life, systems that change my mindset. I'll go put the cold shower on and I'll run that thing as cold as I can. I jump in it. I start screaming.
I'll bet.
Just, woo, just have to get that shock of just hit my central nervous system and wake up, Gavin. You're only given a day once. You're only given a day once. Do something with it.
You're only given a day once.
Yeah. Yeah. I study a lot of stoicism, philosophy, and it really parallels with a lot of my mindset on life, and just, truly living in the present moment, because, it's so easy to look at the past, and we do have to look to the past to how to gauge the future. It's an important skill, but the future is so undetermined. We're only given our days. And I think one thing that I stress on is just being able to see that, and being aware of it. That's where the awareness comes right back into play. Because, depression and anxiety, another thing that I really want to touch on with that is, clinically, a lot of times they'll be diagnosed and almost suppressed of the symptoms, not actually cured. I'm not really going to have a bias or really talk too much on, the pharmaceutical companies or how those things are working, but more or less, you have to realize from a psychological perspective, those feelings of depression and anxiety make you unique as a person. Because so many people, they continue to have kind of this coaster life, this comfortable lifestyle, but it's the worst kind of lifestyle you can have, because you're never truly experiencing the ups and the downs and the glories and the drawbacks of being at a low point or being at a high point. Because I see it so many times in people where they live such a modest life and they don't really have too many problems and struggles, and you think that's the way you'd want it to be, but in reality that's not molding you as a person. That's not going to make you more valuable to the people around you. If there's someone else that's suffering from depression and anxiety, what are you doing to try to help them? Because as much as you feel like you're broken, you have to realize that someone else is broken too. And the only way for you to relate to someone and to helping them is by understanding you're broken too, and being okay with that, not trying to necessarily try to fix that, but just being okay with that.
There's a few things that really popped out on me. One is this idea of permission to feel how you feel. That's a new concept to me in the last 5 years, 7 years is, and as I work with so many people in my church assignment that are roughly in your age group, I just came to the feeling that people should feel how they feel.
Yeah.
even if I didn't feel that way, and to own it and to look at it. And I love the way you talked about that, Gavin. And so when you're feeling the way you felt and feel in some really tough times since your mom's passing, and sort of numbing that or sort of wanting it to go away, you're looking at that as living in the moment and trying to assess why you feel that way, giving permission to feel that way, what you can learn, and how you're going to solve that. And I think that's very, very thoughtful. The other thing that I forgot the second thing. I do want to come back to part of the funeral talk where you talked about darkness. And you really spoke to people that might be filled with darkness. And talk about that. And then you talked about how your own home is so cold. And you don't want to see anybody go through what your dad's going through right now.
Yeah. I mean, I really feel like what I was really trying to convey through the understanding of like my terminology of the darkness and the light and the warmth and the sun is really to understand that in order for you to have light, there must be darkness for you to compare to it. There has to be a contrast for you. It's how our brains work. We're binary. It's good, it's bad, it's, it's evil, it's whatever the case you want to put it in. But in order for you to have the feelings of greatness, you have to have the feeling of suffering. You have the feeling of trial, of tribulation. And in the moments that I truly felt, darkness, I would literally go outside and I'd feel the warmth of the sun, even if it was cloudy. I would just open my arms up and just, hopefully no one saw me, but I'm just out there and I got my arms open and I'm just looking at the sky and I'm feeling the warmth of the sun and I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out and I'm thinking, I'm not guaranteed tomorrow, so I got to live 100% today. I have to live 100% today. I owe it to myself and the legacy I want to leave behind, but more importantly for my mom, and in creating something for myself. And if there's any negative that came from this experience, there better be a bigger positive. So
what would you say to someone who just feels darkness, someone who, is in this really low spot, maybe a parent that has a loving family around them, but still feels just full of darkness and no hope and just, no light? What would you say to them?
Practically, I would say get your running shoes on and go around and go to the gym. I would say, there's a lot of things that we can do as people that can just naturally increase our fulfillment as a person. When we feel down, when we feel in these slums, it's so easy for us to follow that momentum. But if you snap out of it, if you go to the gym, if you get out of your comfort zone and you talk to that friend you haven't talked to in a while, if you're someone that, is trying to get the most out of experience of life, you need to look at it like that and be aware that just because you're feeling this way, you need to try to combat it. You're a living being, you're breathing, feel the warmth of the sun, realize that things are going to be okay. You can't look at the future. You don't know what the future holds. But you can definitely try to predict the future by what you're doing right now. And the thing is to kind of touch a little bit on suicide, I think everyone at some point has thought of the idea and, the funeral and, it's really a moment to celebrate your life. And there's kind of like a selfish moment that comes in where it's like, all these people are gathered for me after my passing. And we kind of have this weird taboo about life after death because we all really don't know, as much as everyone likes to think it, we really, really don't know. And just realize that although people may envy you, although people may look at you and think of the legacy and the life you lived, you have to realize that you're not going to be here, when
So
there's
some
huge
people
struggle.
might be in their suicidal ideology. They might think that might be a way for people to honor me in my own funeral and to really and have this moment, but it's at great cost. I think you're saying it's at great cost.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of times, this is, again, where emotions tie into things. It's, it's that 16-year-old girl who just broke up with her boyfriend and, she's overwhelmed with emotion. This is her first love. She doesn't know what's going on and things aren't working out and she possibly can make an irrational decision. You need to think it through. You need to be, as a parent, you need to be someone that is involved in their kids, not to the point to where you're micromanaging them, but at least like begin to be aware of where their emotional state is. It's so imperative. It's so imperative. And I feel like a lot of times it needs to be conveyed in the understanding that you have to be emotionally aware of what you're thinking. And if it's something that's truly overbearing, don't feel bad in asking for help. Go to someone that's trusted. You know, if there's one thing I get out to people, it's that, you know, it's that.
It's not a sign of weakness to ask for help.
No, it's a strength. It's honestly a sign of strength, because you're going to be a lot more stronger because of it.
I've sometimes picked up where people say suicide takes all of my pain and just transfers it to loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Does that line resonate for you, Gavin? In other words,
I feel like the thing is with me, and to kind of give a little more backstory on myself, before my mom's passing, I've always been a very driven person that's trying to go after whatever he's trying to go after. And my biggest why was, you know, to see my mom 15, 20 years down the road and be able to live supplement a life that's comfortable for her, get her a nice car, do these simple things that she's involved in, enjoying in. And when everything changed, you know, when that moment happened, I really felt the grayness in the clouds, because I could not understand why I was doing it anymore. And I got a new sense of why I'm doing it. And it's the reason, I mean, in the past 12 months, I've traveled to 15 different places out of the state of Utah. You know, one memory that really stuck with me, that I remember, sometimes I get these feelings when I'm really, you know, feeling the warmth of the sun and I'm being in a present moment where I get chills. And we were in Fiji. And I remember I went skydiving. Can you believe that, Papa Osler?
That's awesome.
Yeah, we went into
I'm sure it was a highly regulated company.
I don't know.
With the Better Business Bureau and 20-star rating.
We had a Canadian and Australian that were behind our backs, me and a buddy. And I just remember going up and just breathing in and out, taking in the aerial view of Fiji.
Wow.
And seeing there's an island that that's gotten actually a lot of popularity on social media. It's an island that's actually shaped like a heart.
Wow.
And I remember looking at that moments after I'm jumping out of the plane, and I remember looking straight forward and just thinking, Mom, I hope you see the beauty in this moment.
Wow.
I hope that you see what I'm seeing through my mind. And I have nothing to rationalize where my body or my mind was at, but I had 100% confidence that she was with me.
I believe that.
And there's been so many moments like that within the last year, where it's the smiles of interactions of people that I've seen and met. And, you know, they've told me that I've created value, because it's all about, the thing for me is I want to figure out how I can bring the most value to every conversation and person that I interact with. Because when I do that, one thing that I've really realized is everyone's going through things. I think in Utah, a lot of times people really try to put on this kind of barrier, like they're the exception to the rule or something. But like, we're all going through things. And I always try to break through that personal level with someone, so that way it's like, I know you're human, I'm human. Like,
why is it better that, and let's go on the assumption, which I totally agree with,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's going through stuff.
yeah.
And if I'm going through stuff, I often don't want to tell anybody else about
Mm-hmm.
it. Why is it helpful to tell trusted people you're going through stuff?
I would say it's important, because a lot of those thoughts, you know, you can escape them, you can try to run from them, but you know, they're still gonna be there. It's gonna be that, you know, that monster in your closet when you're a little kid. It's still gonna be there, you know. So I really think in, you know, finding help, you know, if you're someone, you know, even listening to my words and they aren't motivating and inspiring you to really try to look and be positive, be healthier as a person, you need to look at, you know, options of, you know, what do you need to do that's making you feel fulfilled? Is it, you know, the relationship that you're in? Is it have to do with, you know, the job that you're in? Are you not enjoying it? Is it downgrading you? What are you doing to change your reality so that you feel better, so that you can look at a situation better? And if it has nothing to do with that, and it's just, you know, maybe some aspect in your life that, you know, I can't necessarily relate to, you have to find help. You have to find guidance and people that you look up to. You know, Papa, I would come to you to just about anything, you know, because I really find, a lot of people like you are very open-minded. You're charismatic. You're trying to make an impact. I mean, and
Thanks.
you're really trying to break the barrier on, how many people can you influence and help. And I can only imagine, how many messages and things that you've gotten. And the only thing that I hope that you feel from that is like true fulfillment, because it's awesome. It's really awesome.
And you're doing the same thing, Gavin. You're going to be doing it for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
A couple thoughts. One is, I listened to your funeral talk, and you talked about how our home is cold now.
Mm-hmm.
Really cold, so cold. And you begged people that might be suicidal to see the light because our home is so cold.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you even talked about seeing your father go to bed at night alone or be alone, and no kid should see their father alone like that. And
Mm-hmm.
some of the words you that used there were so helpful to anybody else that might be suicidal, because it personalized the impact on the people that are left behind. And I know your mom loved all of you,
Mm-hmm.
and she wouldn't do anything to hurt you because she spent her whole life helping you. But somehow in her complex road, this just was part of her path. Mm-hmm. And I think really, really wonderful, good people that are focused on others, are incredible humans, do get in these really dark situations. And so then it's, what can we do to get them through that? And so I'd invite our listeners to do what you suggest in that talk is, we're going to all be really cold if you're gone. And it's going to, and please stay. Please just stay another day. Everybody would be sorry if you're gone. All of us would be sorry if anybody's gone. Your worth and your value and who you are, even if you feel you're broken and your life hasn't turned out what you want, and please just stay. And even if you don't feel light at the end of the tunnel, which I guess is possible, stay.
Absolutely.
Stay
Mm-hmm.
for just another day. Walk out in the sun like Gavin suggests. Go to the gym. Look at your kids. Look at the people that love you, and just try to stay another day.
Mm-hmm.
Any more thoughts on that?
I would say one thing that, as I'm getting older, I'm 21, about to turn 22, and I'm starting to really get into the gauge of adulthood, and
You're there, man.
I'm there. Yeah. What a
Your
roller
driver's
coaster.
license may not have the right number, but who you are is there, Gavin.
But what I'm trying to get at is, we have to realize that we're all beings, and more importantly than that, we're all self-centered. We're naturally like that because we're trying to create offspring as human beings, and we're trying to live. It's not just us, it's every animal in the ecosystem. We're all animals, and in being aware of that, know that it's okay to walk a road that you're alone on, and know that it's okay to be, especially to really reach out to the lesbian, gays, and all those people. You have a massive impact that you can create. One of my great friends, Cody Kitchen, his older brother Derek Kitchen, he would talk about, he would keep the handwritten notes he'd get in middle school from people actually calling him very, very belligerent and rude things, and he wouldn't look at it often, but it motivated him to create a change. It motivated him to really look at the situation and really, hypothetically kind of be like, screw you guys. Because the thing is I'm out here and I'm creating a change. He legalized gay marriage in Utah. He's running for the Senate and actually won in Salt Lake. Like, this guy is making moves, and it's because he has a motivation that most people don't. You guys that are in that, especially within the state of Utah, you guys have an opportunity to create insane impact and shift a culture, because you're going through something that not very many people can relate to, but you need to be the example. As a person that's going through it, you need to be the one that says, this is me, this is who I am. Not only am I okay with knowing myself, but I want to open it up to people that, this is who I am, and this is who I want to be. And, there's no bias on my end. I'm so open to any and every person and their sexuality and being able to be their own person. And, if you're someone that, has gotten those letters or have felt ridicule from, parents, loved ones, whatever the case may be, just realize that's your own insecurity as a person. That's all that is. It's their own insecurity, and they're not fully okay with themselves, or they haven't gone through a perspective in life to have their mindset change on the idea. And and that's the way you got to view it, because don't let it stop you from becoming the person you want to be. Don't let it stop you from being who you want to become. You could be someone who creates huge impact. The same way you're feeling at 21 years old, or 45 years old, and you're gay, you're lesbian. Someone else was feeling that when they were 18 and in high school. Someone else was feeling that, and you have a voice that could really articulate to a lot of people, whether that be in close conversation with someone. But regardless of how you want to look at it, be a person that can be of impact. Don't look at your situation and get anxious or depressed, or I don't know who I am, or why am I not like everyone else, and really look at it like you're an individual. Everyone's an individual, but for some reason, especially in the state, people try to mold, people try to just be what everyone else is, and you don't need to be that way. The best way to live is live a path of your own, and don't put comparison to anyone else, because no one can compare to who you are.
It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
That's really very thoughtful. And yeah, a lot of our listeners are LGBTQ, and they need the advice you just gave them. It's advice of strength. Absolutely. It's advice of be who you are. It's advice of everybody's, we're all people. Yeah. And we all need to honor everybody where they are. And I love the way you give vision to anybody that's in a tougher road.
Mm-hmm.
Very helpful. Talk about the fishbowl concept.
The fishbowl concept. That is the thing that has allowed me to be open to conversation with anyone. I don't care, if you're the top CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, someone that, naturally I would really want to talk to, or you're someone else. It doesn't matter, because the way I look at it and the way I've really looked at life, especially with becoming into adulthood, this has really come through my mind a lot. It's just, for some reason, a lot of people think that they have things figured out, or that they know, the understandings, or they like to think they know, the understandings of life. The reality is, no one truly knows what happens. And more importantly than that, it's the fact that we don't know just makes the present that much more important. Because, part of me, and I have everything I try to talk about, I try to back with either facts or some kind of example, but I'm going to go on kind of a limb here, but I really do feel like, and I have an innate feeling inside me, that a lot of people that have passed on really look at us as mortals, as they envy us. We are alive. We are here. We don't know why we are here. We don't know why we are where we are, but we're here. And there's something about us being here and us trying to reach who we are trying to become. And there's a lot of things. There's fear, there's vulnerability, there's discomfort. There's all these things that are keeping us from really reaching that threshold into our potential, because we're so worried about what other people are thinking. It's get in your own lane, drive your own car, and go as fast as you can with what you can do, and just...
Will you just say that again, Gavin?
We're driving like a Model S Tesla, so you can go there quick.
Get in your own lane. See if you can do that all again the same way.
Get in your own lane. Go at your speed, and don't compare yourself to the speed of someone else. That's all it is, because you have people, Sam Walton.
And the fishbowl does that.
Yeah,
and you're trying to get people out of the fishbowl.
You have people, they're 21, they look at someone else that's 21, and they go, oh, I'm not on that. It's this comparison. You see women do it on social media all the time. They compare their makeup, they compare their look, constant comparison. It's the killer of all hopes and dreams. It's one of the biggest negatives you can possibly put inside your head, because no one is truly... You can't compare yourself to anyone else unless you're an identical twin and you're the same. But even identical twins are not the same,
Hope is my favorite word right now, Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
And you just said that if you compare and you live that world where you're looking the other lane, then it's a killer of hope.
Yeah.
And everything I want to do right now for people is to bring hope in their life. Very thoughtful.
Yeah, 100%. And I've seen that in my own life. I've seen that, in comparison to what I'm trying to become and what other people are becoming. I'm so in my own lane. I'm so focused on getting from A to B in the quickest line possible that I'm not constantly, sidetracking myself. I put limits on the time I spend on Instagram, because I look at my screen time. Sometimes I spend 3 hours on that thing. and I didn't get anything done. It's not good, content. But the thing is you just gotta look at the situations for what they are, and you gotta move forward. You gotta be aware of what's going on, but at the same time really focus and have tunnel vision in what it is you're trying to become.
Talk about not being Mormon at Cottonwood High School. Was that hard, and did you feel othered or not part of groups, or was Cottonwood High School fine and everybody just accepted everybody for whatever faith they were?
Yeah. So
And that might be helpful for just my LDS listeners who are trying to make sure they don't add to someone's burden.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I was someone who just knew myself and knew who I was, to where I could have felt the pressures, but they really just went on my shoulder and, I dusted them off. But I have seen that, through my life, and growing up in South Jordan. I remember meeting a friend.
You're like 80% Mormon in South Jordan.
Yeah.
And you guys aren't.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going out to the playground and I see a girl and she says she's not Mormon. I'm going to go, oh my gosh, there's someone else that's not Mormon. That is so. I mean, I do have a different perspective on the situation just because I'm not a part of that group, but I'm so spiritual. Like, my parents inclined that to me. They always said, we're not religious, we're spiritual, and it doesn't matter. And this is one thing that's really like a core value of mine, is because I'm always observing things. I'm a huge observer. I'm looking at someone that's 40 years old and how they live, and, someone that's 20, and I just take these little things from their lifestyle that I'm like, I want that. And one thing that I really noticed in being aware is it didn't matter where I traveled, what country I went to, or state, or whatever the case may be over the 12 months, the core values that you were instilled as a child of being good to your neighbor, of being kind, showing generosity, doing charitable work, all these things, it's global. It's a global, working ethical, innate feeling that we feel within ourselves, where I feel like that's a key. That's like a key of life that not too many people really touch on, but it's like there's constant, this religious group, or, this ideology, or, it's even, you see it in like, Democratic and Republican and all these kind of things, where it's this way or that way, but what we're not really understanding is the morals and the values that if we just all implemented those more into our lives, what would tomorrow be like? What would the day be like? Where would we be as people if, you decided to take out your neighbor's trash can for the day, or mow their lawn, or you realize they're out of town, you do their snow blowing, or there's people in South Carolina that I met, like when I was talking to people at their homes, and they didn't even know their neighbors. We're filled in a world. We're as much as we like to go as technology and go on that side of things, we're losing our primal understanding of groups, because people are just becoming so individualistic. It makes sense. People are getting more depressed. People are getting more anxious. Connection. We need connection. It's something that we're all missing as humans.
And we need vulnerable, authentic connection. That's one of the things like you said earlier, is we need to be real, and we need to be vulnerable, and we need to learn how to talk about difficult subjects, even our own lives, because I think it creates authentic connection and other people open up. Talk about how, because sometimes I meet people and they're so well read and they've got such a feeling of where they want to go, and you've got a lot of those, that there's no need for God or spirit in your life, but you have this wonderful belief in God. How do you tell us about your belief in God or your spirituality? Because you could kind of say you could do this all on your own.
So I pray probably every single night I go to bed. I have those gratitude sessions that really put my mind in the right state of mind, and just being grateful for where I'm at. I'm not complacent, but I'm grateful for where I'm at and progressing to where I want to become. And the funny thing is so many people, when they get the outcome that they want, they really look at the process that got them there, and more so than the outcome. It's crazy because we always want the outcome, but we really look back and realize the process. And with my spirituality and who I am as a person, I'm just on this roadmap, and the things that have really kept me spiritually inclined, and being a good person, these kind of things, I do morning affirmations every single day. I look myself in the mirror. I'll actually
tell us what an affirmation is.
So a morning affirmation. So in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, he talks about this understanding of faith and our financial equivalents, or our emotional equivalents, in comparison to the faith that we have in ourselves. And we can actually tap in as human beings to our subconscious mind, which is the thing that makes us do decisions without us even think about it. You know, we start the car, you know, we grab this off the shelf, we grab the peanut butter out of the fridge, you know, but if you can tap into that and you can actually, you know, rewire your brain, you can actually have a way more profound understanding on yourself, your spirituality. And I've always put it towards spirituality because that's the thing that I really focus on, because it's my input as a being. It's just like going to health. My physical being, of me being physically fit, of being an egocentric person and looking at that as my time, I've actually noticed that it's helped my relationships out of it, because I'm more of a healthier person physically and mentally because of it. The same with morning affirmations. Let me see if I can. So this is what I say to myself just about every morning. So I love that I'm living to my potential. I love that I live true to my standards. I love that I live true to my values. I love that I'm present in the moment. I love that I live to my potential. And I'll repeat that. I'll another moment that I hope no one's watching, but I'm in the mirror, and I will, even when I'm not feeling it when I do it, when I first start, but I will literally just start just gripping my fists and really just saying it in the mirror, like, I am living to my potential. I am living to my potential. I live true to my values. I live true to my standards. And I'm just repeating it over and over and over and over again in my head, so that it's almost hitting my subconscious in such a way that I'm not going to choose to watch Netflix. I'm going to read a book. You know, I'm not going to sit at home and take a rest day. I'm going to go to the gym, you know, and it's just this constant thing where it's like, you can have your dreams and dream them at night, or you can have reality and try to make that dream a reality. And that's where it really comes into play in like my spirituality. And, you know, it's constantly comes back to like, I'm only given a day once. I'm only given a day once. And it can change so quick.
I love the way this would be overwhelming to me if I said, for the next year, I've got to do, or I've got to live this standard for the next year or the next month. But I love the way you make it a day. Everything you've talked about is a day.
It's a day.
And that is doable. And if you have a bad day, that's probably okay.
Yeah.
And you just recommit the next day.
Mm-hmm.
That to me takes the stress and the anxiety and makes it much more doable. And then I get into a pattern, a habit, where you're just, if you didn't do that affirmation, you would feel, I assume.
Yeah, it's
like
crazy. Yo, I've been doing it for a while. Like I'm a huge note taker too. Like I document every single day. Every Sunday I have a reflection of the week, prior week, what I need to do better. Have 5 or 6 things I'm grateful that I did for the week, so that I'm not completely hammering down myself. Because there's a flip side to it too. Because like, I'm the most critical person of myself, where if I'm not doing what I need to be doing, I will just hound on myself. And I need to sometimes just breathe, take in a moment, feel the warmth of the sun, be grateful for where I'm at, be grateful for what I got done.
A lot of men your age, when they go through really painful things, to me, pain generates anger.
Yes.
Anger, then what we do with anger, there's a lot of agency. I don't think there's a lot of agency in pain. I've learned to validate pain in people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how we feel, to your point.
Yeah.
And that can lead to anger. And anger can lead to bad behavior to sort of deal with the anger. Talk about why you didn't turn to drugs or heavy alcohol or just the other numbing things that could be part of your road. And because a lot of people need examples like you, and to say, I don't want to do that.
I think the reason I never turned to that, like, kind of makes me think a little bit, because I'm like,
because
like
if you were part of an organized religion, had a bunch of religious rules, which I believe in, certainly in my own faith, that sometimes creates barriers to sort of stay out of those. Yeah. But in a way, you don't have those, so you've had to make these decisions not to turn to that stuff for different reasons. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I had to step up. Like there was no other way. I mean, Brody's graduating, high school this next year. I'm doing everything I can with my work and everything I'm doing. I create my schedule every single day so that I can revolve it, because my biggest value is my family. I will never take anything above my family. If Brody calls me and I'm on the other side, I'm on the East Coast or wherever I'm at, one phone call and I'll book it. Like, and that's as simple as it.
So if you were mal medicated up with drugs or alcohol, you're unable to do what you want to do.
Yeah, and more importantly than that, I look at the cause and effect. Albert Einstein, for every action, there's an equal and opposite counterreaction. If I'm doing drugs and alcohol, what's the effects of that? And then I think, well, I have a younger brother that's looking at me. And if I'm handling it like that, and he doesn't even know himself because he's not, he's not at that age where he's getting hit with life yet, what an example am I being? What would my mom think of me? What would I be becoming? What demons would I be bringing out? What things would I be trying to suppress as a person in those moments of trying to find an escape?
Yeah, that's very thoughtful. And I like your answer because it's sort of the best reason is I want to be the best person and I have responsibility for other people in my life. So I'm not going to go down those roads. How did you deal with anger?
It was kind of crazy because
maybe you went to the gym.
Yeah. Through this whole experience, I have not felt any anger.
Wow. You felt pain though.
I have felt pain. I got a massage like 3 weeks after, and the whole left side of my back had knots left and right, and they actually associate that with heartbreak. Wow. I had none on my right side, which is associated with anger. I was so heartbroken by the decision that my mom made, but I never looked at it like I was angry for her for doing it, because I understood my mom was my rock, man. She was 110% my rock. In a lot of ways, she still is.
Tribute.
And just the understanding of, the legacy that I want to create in my life and who I'm trying to become really kept me on track with those things. So
I love that you didn't feel anger.
Yeah.
And somehow you took that pain and you were able to not translate into anger.
Mm-hmm. It's
really unusual.
Yeah.
Talk about the year you've set these goals. We talked before we went live of 2018, your journey this year about vulnerability and discomfort. I think those are the two words.
Mm-hmm. What would you want me to touch on it?
Just what does that mean? If you said 2018 Gavin Guthrie, I want to be vulnerable and lean into discomfort. What would that mean?
It's crazy because it's like this understanding of like social proof. Charlie Munger, he's one of Warren Buffett's business partners. Warren Buffett, who his net worth $83 billion, says this guy's the smartest guy he's ever known. And this guy talks about social proof. It's this understanding that we do what society has told us to do, and when we break the barriers or we go in our own path or however that may be, we feel the pressures of society. The vulnerability and the discomfort that I have felt has gone against the grain. In me going and doing acting and modeling, think of how many people look at that situation and go, oh, I can't be in front of a camera. Oh, I can't do that. Because I felt that way. I felt like, oh my gosh, like they're going to see, the pimple that I haven't popped. They're going to see, my crazy hair. I haven't got a haircut in 3 weeks. I don't look good. I haven't been working out as good as a kid. I don't look that great. All my insecurities come out. But it's in being aware that those are the kind of things that are going to help you propel yourself to reach a new level. That's what my 2018 was about, because I had nothing holding me back, because it was the skies were gray and all I knew was I'm going to feel the warmth of the sun. The
skies are gray.
Yeah, the skies are gray. I'm going to feel the warmth of the sun, and I'm only given today once. And every time I get that pit feeling where I couldn't.
The skies are gray. Because of what's happened with your mom's passing, the skies are still gray.
Yeah.
There's the warmth of the sun that's giving you hope. And then what was your last line about the day?
Just only understanding you're going to get today once.
You're only going to get today once. So that's the backdrop. The skies are gray. Mm-hmm. That's sort of acknowledging the difficulty of the situation that we all have. Your gray sky is different than a lot of our listeners' gray sky, but we all have gray sky.
Yes.
The sun is warm, and we have one day. You said it better than I did on the one day.
Yeah, we're only given today once.
We're only given today once.
Yes.
What a wonderful framework, Gavin, for just living.
Yeah. It's being in control of the things that you can control, because at the end of the day, if
you can't control the gray sky.
You can't. And that's one thing Jason Crawford talked to me about when I was a sophomore in high school. Control the controllables. There's so many aspects in sports and fitness that were like discipline too is another one that's really related from fitness for me. But in just really understanding that concept has really helped me in just being okay with what the situation is, because I can only control what I can control. And at the end of the day, I'm trying to control as much as I can, but I can only control what I can control.
I like that as a way also to reduce anxiety, because anxiety is often about the future, and it's often about things we can't control.
Yeah.
And I finally quit watching cable news, not because I don't want to be informed, but because I just got anxiety from all the terrible things. Yeah. And the latest study that everything I'm doing is going to cause cancer, Gavin, including sleeping now.
All these studies.
And so I think I love that I think it's a strategy for reducing anxiety, which helps us emotionally, is say, I'm just going to control the things I can control.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things we can't control, including family members, other people's decisions. And I like the visual of the gray sky. That may be just the reality of the human life, is that the sky is just gray sometimes.
Yeah.
And maybe your sky will become ungray at one point, or maybe it'll always be gray because your mom's gone.
Yeah.
And maybe that's okay. Maybe it isn't about, is the sky going to become ungray sometime? It is, because you can't control that.
Yeah.
But it is about the sun. It is about what you're going to do today.
I can, that's spot on where my mind's at, 100%.
You know, we're coming to the last few minutes. Other things you'd like to share with our listeners?
So I actually kind of want to lead off just with, let me see if I can bring it up here. Just kind of the end of my talk.
Good.
Just kind of the things that, I would like to leave, because the thing is, as many people are listening to this, I hope that you implement these things, that you really do try to go out and feel the warmth of the sun, because obviously, the dumbest person in the room is that person that has all the education, material, and intelligence, but doesn't know how to use it. So I want you guys to be applicable with what you learn, whether it be on this podcast or, a number of other, Richard Osler's podcasts that really tap into people and trying to understand themselves. But this is kind of maybe a closing remark. So one thing that with growing up, whenever I would go to bed, my mom would come into my room and she would say, "I love you." And we'd always say it before we left, before everywhere that we did. And then I'd say, "I love you too, Mom." And then she'd say, "I love you more. I love you more, Gavin." And we would have fights sometimes on who would
my wife and I do.
Yeah, who would love each other more. And I've really grasped that concept of more. And I think better than anything, I'll kind of just read it. So show your loved ones you love them more. Show people that you give more, care about people more. Be like my mom, and when someone says they love you, if you mean it, say it back to them that you love them more. I don't know where to go from here, but I too will do everything more, not for myself or anyone else, but for you, Mom, because you never had to tell me you love me more. You showed me, and I'll never forget that. Rest in peace, Mom. And it's just the understanding of truly doing more. Just ask yourself, are you doing what you physically can do to be more? Are you becoming more? Are you giving more value to people more? Are you loving people more? Are you showing your wife you love them more? Your family, your kids, show them more.
It's really powerful. I'm very touched by that. Any other concluding thoughts, Gavin?
It did take a little bit of courage to kind of come and be on your podcast, and
does.
And just in understanding, the discomforts or whatever it is that people are going through, realize someone else has already been there. Someone else has already gone through these kind of things in the past. There's not too many situations that haven't somewhat been replicated. Obviously, perspective and a lot of other things will shift that mindset, but understand that we as humans, there's things that we go through in life, and as far-fetched and as isolated as you seem as a being, you realize that there's someone else that's a being that's going through exactly what you're going through. And, in me being open and vulnerable, I've met people that have gone through similar situations to me, and they've felt the certain way that I felt, and they've reached out to me, and it's having that support group and that understanding of people. If you are gay or you are lesbian, lean on the shoulders of your brothers and sisters, lean on your shoulders of people, in trying to understand we're whole. Don't Don't go towards the mold of society and everyone being so individualistic. Be someone that's selfless and try to reach out and be more.
I love that challenge to everybody, and it's just great to have you on the podcast, Gavin.
It's been an experience. I love it. I hope that it turns out and a lot of people really enjoy it.
But you're helping so many people because you're vulnerable and you're willing to talk about difficult subjects and you're talking about your own life, and it makes you real and authentic and approachable. And I would guess you'll get many messages because of this podcast. You also give great tribute to your mom. Everything you said today just honors her and the incredible woman she is, her legacy. And I love that skydiving over Fiji where you said, my mom's with me. And I have to think she's smiling at the life you're living and the influence for good you are on her husband, your father, Brody, and so many others. And I just leave what happened at the Savior's feet. I don't judge your mom. I don't worry about, I believe she's alive in the next life like you felt her, and I don't worry about her. I just think, but what you've done is bring great honor to her. And we will never know exactly all the factors. You have a better idea than I do what led to that decision. And it sounds like you're not dwelling on that too much. You're just, because you can't control it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you're just moving forward in your life. And I think one of the greatest tests of character is how we handle difficult things and how we can make those potentially positive in our lives and positive in other people's lives. And I look at your future as a father, as a husband. I hope you have some sons so you can coach them baseball.
Hey, there you go.
And I have to think these life lessons, as you're talking with your own kids and maybe your own grandkids, you'll reflect back to these difficult, beautiful, painful chapters of your life that are happening right now, and you'll go, this has really helped me. Yeah. And I think you'll look back with great gratitude for how you responded to this difficult situation, and how you've moved forward the best way you know how. So on behalf of all of our listeners, thanks for coming on. You've given everybody hope, Gavin. And we talk a lot about LGBTQ, and I couldn't, at your age, talk about that subject. And the fact that you can just talk about it so naturally, and you just recognize we're all people.
Exactly.
We're all people, and we have different roads, we have different sexual orientations, we have different differences, and I just think that's part of God's beautiful diversity. But it gives me hope when I hear you just so, not casually, but just so matter-of-fact talked about different groups of people as we're just people. So it doesn't even scare you to say these words out loud.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So thanks, Gavin, for joining us on another episode of Listen, Learn, and Love.